Welcome back. Now we are going to talk about the array groupings here. So JavaScript keeps getting new features about arrays. So in ES 2024, a new feature called array grouping was added to the language. Now array grouping is a very powerful feature which, as the name says, allows us to group values in the array based on a condition. So that sounds a bit confusing. So let's make it a simple. So let's make it clear in this lecture. Further, let me just start writing console.log movements here. So when I run it, so here we got it. So now let's actually group these different movements here, whether they are the deposits, so the positive values here, or the withdrawals. So we're going to create a variable called group movements. So now let's do that actually array grouping now. So here we'll just create the constant grouped movements. So Objects.groupBy of movements. So first of all, here we did not use a method, but instead we used here we wrote the Object.groupBy. So that is very different from what we did earlier, where all the different array features were actually methods called on array. So here it is important to keep in mind that we do array grouping by doing this Object.groupBy. So this now accepts two parameters. So it receives two arguments, where the first one is the array and then we want to group, so that's the movement array, and the second we need to pass in the callback function, which will determine how exactly we want to group the values in the array. So basically what we want the elements to be grouped. In order to explain this, it's actually a bit easier to first and write the callback, and then based on the result we'll see how this actually works. So basically this here, it is going to be the callback like all others one, which basically loops over the array. So each of them here, it is going to be the movements and then here it is going to be the deposit or withdrawal. Okay, so let me just console.log group movement. So when I run this, yeah, here it is the movement, not movements. So here it is going to be not objects, here it is only the object. So here you can see here, yeah, here it is here also should be the movement, not the movements. So then here we have the deposits and then withdrawals. As you can see here, it was divided all the positive numbers into the deposits and the negative numbers here into the withdrawals. So we actually get here an object as end result. So that's why here it is called Object.groupBy. Now this object that was created as the key actually has exactly these keys that we created here. So essentially here we created the names of the groups which should be created in the objects, and by which all the elements in the original array would be grouped. So again, let's go through the callback function here, and keep in mind that's basically this will loop over this array just like the map method or something like that. So then here for each of the elements it will return one of these two groups. So if the movement here it is greater than 0, then the group here should belongs to the deposits, and then here it is the 200 which is exactly be placed into the deposits group, and the same for the 450, and the next one here it is the minus 400, right? So then the withdrawals, so the string which is going to the name of the groups, it will be written. So and then 400 it will just placed in that group. So essentially here in the callback function we need to return the different groups name, so that we wanted our array to be grouped by, and then each of the element of the arrays that were correctly grouped into one of these categories according to our code here. So it could of course be many more groups than just these two, for example using one or more if statements. So let's actually do that next. So let's go up here and check out our account. We have this accounts array. See here we have this accounts array, right? So we have this accounts array where each of these objects here and each of them has a movements array, so which has a different length. For example, this account here has only done 5 movements, and then here this account has done 8, and this one 8, and then this one something like 9, something like that. Okay, for suppose. So by the number of movement, so we can just classify these different accounts by the number of movements that they have made. So let me just demonstrate what I meant here. Here we'll just create a constant group by activity, and then here we just set this to object dot group by accounts, and then here let me just create a constant here, movement count. So here account dot movements dot length if movements count then are equals to 8, and then here we'll just simply say return very active. Okay, here we'll just simply replicate this few more times, and in the next case, so here it is only active. Here we'll just set this to moderate, and if this is not the case, in the else case, here we'll just simply say return inactive. Okay, when I run this, so here let me just go ahead and console log this, console.log group by activity. So when I just run this, see here we are having the activity array. So here we are having the very active arrays of 3. So inactive, here we are just only having 1. Okay, here we are having the very active, see here. So let me just go ahead above once here, and then here simply just change. For suppose here let me just remove these all here, and also here let me just remove some here. So when I save it, now you see here we have very active and inactive here 4. So these got changed. So let me just put those back, and then here as well. So when I save it, see here we are having the inactive, which is the array owner Sarah Smith. So here array of 5, right? So what we just given here the condition. So here we given for everything 8, right? So here we need to change the condition. So we'll just set here this condition to 5, and then here we'll just set this condition to 1. Now we'll check that. See here we are having very active 3, and then active is only 1. So we'll check that Sarah Smith, because here it is having only 5 elements. So we'll just simply go above, and then right now here we'll just remove these, and then here also we'll just remove some here as well. So when I run this, see here, now here we are having very active of array 1, active of 1, moderate 1, and then inactive 1. As you can see here, which are the arrays. So which is the Sarah Smith, it is inactive. Here very active is Jessica Davis, moderate is this one. Okay, so we got like this. So let me just put these values back here. So when I save it, so this goes back to original. So let's pretend that we are getting the data from the web API. So let's pretend that we are getting the data from the web API. So from some databases, for example, then we wanted to very easily categorize, so group these different accounts simply by their type. Okay, so very common to do something like this. I meant not necessarily grouping accounts by types, but simply taking one property of the objects and then grouping these different arrays objects into different groups based on that. So this will make more sense once we actually write the code. So Let me just write the code here. So here, let me just say constant group by. So let me just say group by accounts. So here I am setting here this to object dot group by of accounts, and then account account dot type, and then here let me just console dot log group by accounts. So when I run this, see here we are getting the array of 4. See here we are having the total arrays. So this is a very common use case of array grouping. Here we could simplify even more. So let me just copy this and then turn this off, and then let me just paste it down here. So here we could just say objects.group by accounts, and then here we could just group this type of account directly to the type, and then when we run this now, as you can see here, we get the same output here, but with this nicer syntax here. Great. So array grouping really is an amazingly new addition to the JavaScript language, and the possibilities here are really endless. I'm sure you see by these examples, I'm sure you will actually find many more ways of using in your own project in the future. So always keep this array grouping in the mind. Okay, that's it for this video.